of course, a member of the Rajya Sabha. We are also joined by a former judge, S.N. Dhingra. But I want to begin with you, Mr. Jethmalani, tonight. And this is important. The reason I spelt out all the issues was that the context would be well established. And Mr. Jethmalani, you've heard Mr. Salve, he spoke to me earlier. I want to ask you, judiciary's reluctance to act decisively, do you believe it stems from a self-protective instinct within the collegium, or do you believe this case strengthens the need for external oversight?
Well, I mean, this has happened in the past. I mean, it's happened on many occasions when judges have been found with their hands in the till, so to speak. And what the collegium normally does is just order a transfer to some other court. And this is a regular feature now. So the conduct hit, and I've always said that this is a unwholesome way of dealing with corrupt judges, because it's not a deterrent, right? You just go to another court. It's a lateral move, really. Maybe a court that's smaller, etc. But therefore the conduct keeps getting repeated until it comes out in the open. It took a fire in a judge's house for what was a open secret in Delhi about judicial corruption, that there is judicial corruption, to reach this stage. And it's time now that this has happened, right? It gives a great opportunity to judiciary itself to be less opaque and more transparent, and also to take deterrent steps against, so that it doesn't happen in the future. As regards this particular judge, I don't know what the quantum is. I don't know. There are many questions that arise. What was the quantum, right? Was it? And the litigants, perhaps supposing if this was a bribe for a particular case, Rahul, the litigants who were the victims of that illegality on the part of the judge need to know and perhaps get redressal. That listen, the judgment he's passed in this case is tainted. There are many other people who are affected by this kind of conduct. So I think it's time that this opaque procedure about an in-house inquiry, etc., is done away with.
So let me ask you, Mr. Jethmalani, because you've raised a very important question, a very, very significant question. Now, you do serve the public interest as a member of parliament from the Rajya Sabha. And
I'm not a member of the Rajya Sabha. I just want to stop you there, because this happens very often. I'm at the moment not a member of the Rajya Sabha.
Okay, so you'll have. So anyhow, you're part of a political mainstream. You're also part of the BJP. Now, do you believe that the executive should intervene when the judiciary fails to uphold accountability in cases of judicial misconduct? I mean, you've said it's happened in the past. Now, I mean, how much time are we going to just sit by and watch a sorry to say this, but a train wreck?
No, I think that this has startled a lot of people. I mean, in the past, right, judges who have been involved in similar conduct, as I said, right, have gone to different courts, and those courts who received these judges have received them without demur. In this case, the Allahabad High Court is up in arms, right? And they refuse to accept the judge. So this is now really a very significant moment in judicial history. I mean, it augurs well, if you ask me, right? Because this could be the beginning of the cleansing of the audience tables.
Yeah, but the BJP has often criticized the opacity of judicial appointments and asset declarations. You know that in NDA 1, the Vajpayee NDA, at that time the law minister was Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad. He had pushed for the bill to bring about more accountability in the process of appointments and asset declarations. Now, this scandal has once again sort of, opened a Pandora's box. Let's be very honest.
Absolutely, it has.
So why shouldn't? So should the government now push aggressively for reforms? Is this the right time?
Yes, I think that it's time that the government goes on the front foot on this as well, because the judiciary has been cloistered, right? It has to, as I said, become more transparent. Not just, maybe there's a case. Maybe there's a case for being opaque, not being transparent when it comes to the matters of judicial appointments, right? That's a separate issue altogether, because somebody was rejected from being appointed, right? It'll be a slur on him. So there may be something. But in cases of corruption, as you pointed out in your opening remarks, right, the judiciary must stand on the same footing, right? Of course, they must be given protection against frivolous allegations of bribery. But in an open and shut case where a judge is caught with stashes of cash, right, and the collegium itself has immediately decided that action is required. We're only questioning about the efficacy of the action. But action was called for. They transferred him. So prima facie, they found that there was something wrong. There was something illegal in that stash of cash which was found with him.
Yeah, but, look, I mean, the judiciary perhaps is a vested interest. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to sort of get ahead of myself, but for whatever reasons, they've resisted reform. So I think we've come to a point where there needs to be some significant legislative intervention. And the government's, Modi government's been around for 14, 15 years now, and it champions the legacy of the Vajpayee government naturally. But again, there has been no movement. Do you think this is problematic?
I think it's a problem. I think judges have to be of supreme virtue, or you don't accept a judgeship, right? And judges have to be transparent, right? There is nothing to hide. There is nothing to hide, and when cases of corruption take place.
Can you say that for sure? Can you say that for sure?
There ought to be nothing to hide.
There ought to be, yeah.
Because, otherwise you get that old Jennings question, who will guard the guardians themselves?
Yes.
Right? Yeah. And, so they do need now, right, to be far more transparent and far more stringent.
So let me ask you,
dealing with these cases.
If supposing the judiciary, even after they sort of resists, are you in favor of supporting the creation of an independent judicial oversight body, similar to the Lokpal, to investigate corruption within the judiciary? Narrow mandate.
Yes. Yes. Since this is a seminal moment today, I consider this to be an extremely seminal moment, right? I would first leave it to the judiciary to take more stringent, effective methods on trial, right? I would still trust the judiciary to combine prudence with transparency, right? Because you're going to get otherwise a lot of, frivolous cases against judges by discontented litigants as well, right? So I still think you must do it. But in a case where there is obviously, a cash seizure, right? This is, you are caught flagrantly. There is no question but the judiciary must take, whether it's the collegium, stringent action and be transparent about it. The public has a right to know in this case, as I said, Rahul, what was the quantum and what is the judge's explanation for where this money came from? Because there may be litigants involved.
True. No, that might be. Yes. And there are
and
people
also,
within the BJP.
You also need to get the bribe, because let me tell you one thing, right? There are fixers. There are people who are gaming the judicial system in this country. They're well-known, and they're well-known fixers.
Well, I'll bring in the High Court Justice on that. But just a minute, you made a very important point, because Amit Malviya, the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, the head of the IT and communications cell, has come out and tweeted and said that, look, this particular judge presided over a very sensitive political corruption case and gave a chief minister the clean chit, so to speak. So, look, I don't know, but there are obviously conflicts of interest here, and if money has been found...
Rahul, we shouldn't be speculating.
No, I'm not speculating. I'm not. I'm just quoting Amit Malviya. I'm just quoting Amit Malviya.
We are now on measures that should be taken.
But you see, my point is that this problem may not have erupted had there been mandatory asset declaration for judges. Now, that system is also very vague for judges. You, I, every other Indian citizen, from politicians upwards, downwards, has to declare in front of the IT, or otherwise you are, really penalized.
But I think that out of the present Supreme Court judges, I think most of them have declared their assets, or nearly all of them.
Oh, they've done us a great favor, I have to say. What a favor.
A few years ago, as a member of the Parliamentary Committee on Law and Justice, right, we were told by the Secretary Justice that there was only 2 judges who had declared their assets under the law, right? But I think there's been a sea change since then.
Right. Well, what a favor they're doing to us. I wish, viewers, the judiciary polices itself and takes these measures in public interest. Remember, they're serving the public interest and they need to be above all suspicion, like Caesar's wife, viewers. Thank you, Mr. Jethmalani, for speaking with me. I want to bring in also Mr. Rohatgi, who has been a former Attorney General, a big voice on this show. We also have with us Justice Dhingra. So, Mr. Rohatgi, your assessment of how the collegium has acted here.
See, till now, we were all proceeding on the basis that huge amounts of currency has been found at the house of the sitting judge. But I just saw a statement of the fire officer saying that no money has been found at the time of dousing the fire. I don't know what is going on. I'm rather puzzled. And there is no clear disclosure of the events either by the government or by the Supreme Court. That's the first thing which should be done, because there are more questions unanswered than questions which are answered. It apparently started on the eve of Holi on 14th of March. What happened on 14th of March? Who called the fire department? The fire department searched how many rooms? A judge's house has got many rooms and many servant rooms. It's got guard rooms. Where was the money found? Where did all this happen? When did the police come? Who found the money? How was the report made? I mean, all these questions are
But we will never
unanswered.
know, Mr. Rohatgi. And look, if a senior member of the bar like yourself, who has served the government as a judicial officer, is worried, you said, I'm concerned and puzzled. If you are puzzled, can you imagine? The paying public, the citizenry of this country that puts all its faith in the judiciary, what must be going through their minds? We must be thinking if our interests are being safeguarded, and this worries me. It worries all citizens. So I want to ask you, now we are going to have some sort of an in-house inquiry. No one will even know.
No, now listen. If we were proceeding on the basis that money was found, then the in-house inquiry is necessary and can be resorted to by the Chief Justice of India. That in-house inquiry will look at the facts in a summary manner and make a report to the Chief Justice. The Chief Justice of India is also empowered to take away judicial work from the judge concerned, because then it will amount to like a suspension. When a government officer is charged with some moral turpitude, the first thing which happens is, pending an inquiry, you have suspension. So that could have been resorted and should have been resorted to. You can't have a judge sitting in this court or the Allahabad High Court and maybe dispensing justice when he's under such a cloud. How will people have faith in that system or in appearing in that court of that judge, etc.? So that is what the Chief Justice can do. He can do no more. The process of removal is extremely laborious.
No, but why didn't he do this? Now, you've spelt it out. Mr. Salve on the show has spelt it out. Mr. Jethmalani is also sort of expressing concern at what he claimed was a sort of leniency towards corruption.
No,
why
but
wasn't
listen,
this done?
my friend. Listen, my friend. Mr. Salve and Jethmalani would have done it as to what the position was 1 hour ago, which I also thought that huge piles of cash have been recovered. Now, what do you do with this chief fire officer's statement that no money was recovered?
No,
So
how do we know?
then?
He might be under pressure. See, that's the point I'm getting at, sir. There are so many unanswered questions now, and
So the best
you would
thing
agree.
would have been,
You
the
would
best
agree
thing, my
that
friend, would have been that the court should have issued a proper
statement.
circular or an information bulletin as to what has transpired in the facts from 14th till today. That these are some facts which have come. They're not fully verified. These are the facts. This is the decision we have taken. And then whether the facts justify a decision to withdraw work from the judge is also important. Whether the facts are such or not such, because you must understand, forget this case. Every judge in this country faces numerous complaints every day, mostly from disgruntled litigants.
Yes.
That If a litigant loses, he says the judge is corrupt or has taken money
Sure.
or is a friend with the other side, etc., etc. So a lot of those 99% complaints are actually bogus.
Yes.
It's those 1% complaints, like in the facts of this case, which is like speaking for itself.
No, but I want to
if
ask you,
allegations
Mr.
are
Rodgi, that's a
correct.
very important point that you're making. Yes, no one wants to have frivolous, inquisitions, but I want to ask you this. This is important because obviously there was something that was amiss because a kind of punitive action was taken. He was sent from one court to another court. So there was a transfer. What necessitated that transfer? Obviously, there was some wrongdoing or something, I don't know.
Yeah, so you are absolutely right, my friend. If the wrongdoing is associated with finding piles of cash of huge amounts, then certainly inquiry is warranted, which was swiftly ordered. It also warranted maybe a transfer or not, but what it warranted was taking away the right to dispense justice. And then we would have gone to the bottom of this case by is money recovered, not recovered, who recovered the money. We don't even know.
No, we don't.
Was it the police? Was it the fire department? Was it IB? Who was it? Nobody knows. What is the amount? From where was it recovered? I mean, we don't know all that. But as you rightly said, there can't be, a smoke without fire. So if the Supreme Court has acted swiftly in one day, whether they have acted, by going the full way or not, is one question. But once they have acted and the incident is only one, finding money, etc., then how is it, coexisting with the fire officer's statement? Why should he make a biased statement? He also knows that there is a public gaze, the whole nation is watching.
True, I saw that statement. Look, right now, I'm not willing to sort of underwrite that statement. Therefore, I didn't sort of put it out there. But you're right. Mr. Rodgi, very quickly, how do we move forward from here? How do we even know that this internal inquiry that is being conducted is going to pass the standards?
Look, you have to trust the Chief Justice of India in that there will be a proper inquiry consisting of a judge of the Supreme Court, a judge of the High Court. I do not accept that it will be biased, etc. They should swiftly give a report, and then if the Chief Justice finds that there is no explanation by the judge concerned, then he must recommend to Parliament for impeachment. But I must tell, no impeachment has happened in the last 75 years because of the nature of the strict standards or high standards
the bar,
which are required for impeachment.
Yeah.
So you need to revamp.
So you're saying we have to now trust. That's what we are left with, an element of trust. Thank you, Mr. Rodgi. Trust, viewers, trust. That is something that, at least as of now, may be in short supply, at least amongst you, who have seen a very strange number of occurrences. Now, I want to bring in Mr. S.N. Dhingra. He needs no introduction. He's been an upright judge. Your assessment of how the collegium acted, Justice?
See, it is just like a thanedar is caught somewhere taking bribe or doing some crime, and you see the police commissioner transfers him to lines. After people forget, and then he is again transferred to another police station. This seems to be like this. You see, the man's nature doesn't change whether you transfer him to Allahabad or to Calcutta. If he is corrupt in Delhi, he is corrupt in Allahabad, he is corrupt in Calcutta.
Well, okay, so now we have an in-house inquiry. Mr. Rodgi says trust it. Is this viable, trustworthy?
You see, what should have been done according to me is that immediately when so much cash was recovered from his house, unaccounted money, an FIR should have been ordered to be registered by Supreme Court itself, and the police should have been asked to investigate where from this money has come, and the Supreme Court should have initiated in-house inquiry simultaneously in order to initiate the proceedings for impeachment. The impeachment proceeding, you see, a judge cannot be removed without being impeached. So if such a judge has to be in judiciary or has not to be in judiciary. If there is a dilemma in Supreme Court mind, I think that should not have been there. Such judges are tarnishing already tarnished image of the judiciary. The judiciary image is not very good among the people, and inaction of Supreme Court or such kind of action of Supreme Court, you see, gives an impression in the mind of people that, you see, corruption is a very common thing in judiciary. It is as is common in other institutions of this country.
Okay.
So why to bother be about the corrupt judges? I think this attitude is there in Supreme Court and High Courts.
So why did the collegium, in your estimations or your assessment, not file an FIR?
You see, they can only tell why they did not order for filing an FIR. You see, the law of this country is applicable to everybody, except you see that FIR cannot be registered against the President of India. Otherwise, you see, FIR can be registered against any judge. Only thing is, you need to have permission. Even for registering an FIR against a civil judge or a additional district judge, you need permission of High Court. And similarly, Supreme Court should have permitted for registration of FIR like against any other person, against in this case also, and should have ordered investigation as to what was the source of this much money.
So I'm asking you then,
And
is this, you said order an investigation, is this a fit case for an external agency to step in, like the ED perhaps?
You see, there have been many fit cases to probe, but actually most unfortunate thing is that judiciary is never serious in corruption cases. They think corruption is the way of life, even in judiciary as in other countries. I was reading other day a judgment given by Supreme Court in a corruption case where the person was caught red-handed on the complaint of a complainant who had complained that this much money was being demanded from me. You see, the powder coating was done of the notes. The notes were recovered from him. He on the spot. His hand wash was taken. The trial court convicted him. High Court convicted him. Supreme Court acquitted him, taking a view that, you see, this could have been planted. Hand wash is not a shortcut method of.
Well, you see, I don't want to. Thank you, Justice Sahab. I don't want to sort of look at this matter because I haven't sort of examined the facts. But I'll take you at face value, Justice Dhingra. What you've said is that the courts are not very serious about graft and corruption. Now, that is emblematic of a deeper rooted problem, a malaise, word that was used today by the Vice President of India in the Rajya Sabha, viewers. I leave it at this. It's been a comprehensive examination of this issue from all the angles. I hope you enjoyed this exercise, viewers. And I just hope for once something changes. Otherwise, all of this is futile. I leave it at this, viewers.